Herzlich willkommen zurück zur Gamescom 2024. Heute am Gamescom Donnerstag sind wir für euch wieder im Businessbereich unterwegs und ein erneutes Mal waren wir heute bei Casino Games. Dort haben wir Ixion angeschaut, ein Space Game Adventure City Building Game, das eigentlich schon draußen ist auf PC. Und wir haben das jetzt für PlayStation und für Xbox angekündigt und das soll im ersten Quartal nächsten Jahres rauskommen. Und das ist eine absolute Empfehlung von mir. Also ich habe das jetzt innerhalb der kurzen Präsentation hier gezeigt bekommen und ich schneide euch die Präsentation jetzt mal kurz zusammen und entlasse euch in diese Präsentation. Viel Spaß!
Okay, so this is Ixion, made by the developers of Mechanicus 1 and 2, Forward Studios based in France. Ixion pits city building, survival elements, a heavy narrative all together to make this space opera. So a little bit about the story up to this point. After devastating climate change issues and just general Earth being awful, they're desperately trying to find a new home for humanity. They built the Tycoon here, which is the space station we're on at the moment, with the Vohle engine, an engine capable of going faster than light. With this, they're hoping to travel to a place called Proxima Centauri to find a new home and start testing colonization. This is the prologue of the game. Up till this point, I've built some housing for our crew members here, using the various resources such as the alloy, polymer, etc. I've stored the resources in our stockpiles, which I built. There's the mess hall, which is feeding our crew. The tech lab, which gains access to the tech tree, I'll show you in a little bit. And the EVA airlock, which allows us to build on the outside of the Tycoon. But you may notice these small solar panels.
Yes, here. Wow. I like the transition between.
Thank you, it's cool, isn't it? Yeah, there's three views. There's the inside the Tycoon, where you unlock more sectors. The stellar view, where you see the whole system. And then outside the Tycoon, like you just saw. We do have some issues, some more preparation. If we look at the sector happiness here, which is just the general trust the crew have in our abilities, you can see a -1 in homelessness, over 25%. So let's open up the construction here. This is a new UI built just for console. Population, crew quarters. Build this down here. I'm also going to cancel destruction on that one and wind time forward. We will also need a way of sustaining ourselves once we reach Proxima Centauri. We've been getting our food from our sister ship called the Urshanabi, but if we check the tech tree, we can see we've unlocked everything except an insect farm. So let's do that. Converting one food after one cycle. Excellent.
And where do you collect these resources? Just from the other ship, or do you?
So there's a few different ways to get resources. I built a probe launcher earlier, and if I come to the stellar map, I can launch a probe that can even find mineral deposits among asteroids like iron, carbon, whatever. Or there's man-made signals, like we're getting the graphs here now, which have narrative events like the one on Saturn, where you can get science points for the research you do, or you may even find resources, like you find a derelict building, you can strip it for parts, for example. So I'm going to send the probe here, and then I'll be sending our science ship to visit whatever kind of man-made signal it is. In the meantime, if we look at our notifications, the insect farm has been researched, so we can build that now. I will build a few of these just to make sure the crew are fed.
So that's a food source for the crew?
Yes, exactly. And there's a few different ways of getting food throughout the game. This is like the starter way to get the food. And the probe has been complete. So let's send a science ship.
Can you speed up the game? Or?
Yes, so you've got 3 speeds in the top right there. Obviously we're waiting here for the science ship. Usually you will be moving through the different speeds when stuff gets really chaotic towards the end of the game. And you don't want to, miss anything bad like crew dying or maybe there's fires inside the ship. The science ship has reached here, so we can open this narrative event. It looks like we've been blocked out from making contact on this place, and we have a couple options here. I'm going to select the override, so we override the blocking from our company, Dolos AEC, and make contact. So they're saying this is some sort of secret organization that they don't want us to be a part of at the moment. Obviously, we're about to do this amazing voyage across the stars, so the whole world is watching us, and they don't really like how we're, investigating a secret organization. They have given us some options here, such as send resources using our cargo ship. So I'm going to do that. I'll sacrifice 30 of my steel, and then in return, they should be happy with us and trade some resources back.
Oh, okay.
If we look in here, we can actually see the cargo ship coming in, taking on the steel, and then setting a path across.
It's really detailed, so you have every component animated.
Yes, and
every
it's all
action
doing at the same time as well, so it's not like, the inside isn't paused while we're doing this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so later in the game there will be loads of kind of resources moving around, food being generated, and you just have to keep track of, that you're making enough. The ship has been delivered, and they're giving us electronics and polymer in return. If I just pause the game there, go to our fleet management. This is where we can control some of our ships, like the mining ships and the cargo ships. There's a small bug, so it's just covering the writing. And we can set priorities. So I'm going to say, at the highest priority, before you collect anything else, collect electronics. And now if I play it,
So you can add a trade route.
yeah,
so the
pretty
ship
much.
is flying back and forth to collect these computer resources.
Exactly.
Okay.
We also need a place to store those electronics, so I'm going to just set a stockpile to electronics. That's one I built earlier. I think I actually set it incorrectly. I want to make sure the food is below priority of the electronics, just so we get the electronics first. Okay. For the food. But it's almost time to do the test launch, and our boss, Vanir Dolos, has told us that we have to move the Tycoon to the moon in order to do this launch. So let's select that. And then we're going to divert all of our power, so all the buildings will turn off as we move, and the engine is being powered. And we can actually see the Tycoon moving in real time across the system.
Wow. And satellites, or what are these?
Those are satellites and aeroplanes and stuff as well.
Okay. That's really detailed.
It is, yeah. You can see the moon, the sun. Excellent.
And we're playing in our solar system because you said Alpha Centauri.
Yes, so this is our solar system. But then, as we see later, you might kind of accidentally stumble into other systems that you're trying to desperately survive.
Understand, okay.
Okay, our AI there, Eden, is going to tell the ships to come back, which is perfect. And we can commence our launch towards Proxima Centauri.
So do you have different stages in the game?
So there's
first collect resources and build our ship in our solar system?
kind of. So the prologue is, you're preparing the ship in our solar system. And then after this launch, there's 5 chapters, each with a different solar system where you have to overcome some sort of obstacle. But while you're doing all of that, you always have to keep generating steel, keep generating food, keeping all your people alive and happy. So it's like you're spinning a lot of plates at once.
Okay.
So here we're using the engine, and we're going almost in between realities to find a wormhole and get to our destination.
Wow.
Yeah. And we actually get a view from Earth, where Vanir Dolos, our boss, is going to do a massive press announcement to announce his launch.
Okay.
Yeah. Very corporate, you could say. And and it's all voice acted as well. Some really strong voice actors in this.
Reminds me a bit on Expanse, the TV show or the books, as you know.
Yeah,
maybe.
very much like Expanse. More Expanse. Also a little bit like Interstellar, if you've seen that film. Just to do with all the weird science stuff that happens, especially when you go to alien planets and you don't really understand what's happening. Like that narrative event where we found that secret organization, almost every planet you come across you can send a science team to and do like a series of events to figure out what's happening. There's some where time might shift differently, somewhere like crew go missing or get replaced by aliens.
Oh, okay.
Almost a bit like Star Trek, you know, like every planet is going to have something crazy and weird.
And is there a storytelling line, or is it random?
No, so there is a main story where you're trying to find a new home for humanity and for your crew. But along that, there are all these different side objectives that you can come across. The actual game, to play all on the normal difficulty, because there's multiple difficulties, is about 30 hours long. So obviously that can be longer or shorter depending if you do the side objectives and depending what difficulty you're playing.
Will it be easier for you if you concentrate on building the spaceship first?
Yeah, I think it's almost like you can't forget anything, but there's loads of different strategies to play. Like when we were testing it, we had one person who focused on mining, and so they were mining like all the resources in the solar system. So that when they progressed later in the game, they didn't have to worry about that. But you may focus on food instead, so you're just making loads of like farms and insect farms. So loads of different strategies, but no matter what you do, you always are going to have to balance it. And here we have the actual launch. So seen from the ground on Earth, that's the Tycoon.
Ah, okay. So we now see the jump we did earlier.
Exactly. And unfortunately, it goes horribly wrong. Tears the moon apart. And we're actually going to jump back to our perspective on the spaceship. Once it loads. And we haven't jumped through space, but instead we've jumped through time. Thousands of years in the future.
Oh.
So if I skip this dialogue. Okay, it's bugged, I can't skip it. It's still work in progress, the console version. But we can see the moon in the background there, absolutely destroyed. And if we look around this way, we can see what used to be Earth. Now it's just a dry, desolate wasteland. So clearly something's gone horribly wrong. The Vohle engine has stopped working, so we can't do any more travel. And for some reason, it's affected the hull of the spaceship. And so the metal is eroding away, and we're going to have to find a way to constantly supply new metal. Eden is telling us our chances of survival, which is 7.67%, so it's not looking good. And often when you're playing the game, you might have to reload old saves and try different strategies. Just letting us know we need to try and find survivors. We need a way to generate more food because there's no longer a test jump, it's now permanent. And we need to repair the hull to make sure the spaceship doesn't get torn apart. There we go.
So basically now you try to recover the ship to use it again.
Yes, and the crew are actually trying to tell us their thoughts on it. So they're very upset that we've destroyed the moon, of course, and we have a couple of options here. I'm going to say it's our fault, and they don't like that, so that's done a penalty to our trust, which shortly should be going down at the top here.
So you have statistics or stats to care about of the crew of the ship?
Yeah, exactly, like happiness really, you know, like in other kind of civilization games or that kind of thing. They're also sad that obviously all their friends and family used to live on Earth and now it's desolate, so they're asking us to send a science team and search for survivors. So let's just go ahead and do that. So we're going to wind time forward and send our science team here. They're saying there's no signals and all the oceans have evaporated. Got a few options, but let's search for survivors. while we're doing that, let's worry about the hull. It's going down very rapidly, and if it reaches 0, it's going to be game over as the Tycoon is ripped apart. Thrust is okay at the moment. If that did reach 0, which is now going down, then the crew will throw us out of the airlock and not be happy with us, which is also game over. For the hull, we're going to need a steady supply of steel. We have some, but let's check the tech tree with our new tier unlocked, and we've researched everything else. And have a look at the steel mill. Transforms 15 iron into 15 alloy every cycle. So let's start researching that. We're going to need to use a probe to actually find iron, which is the FE bar inside here. I can change the cursor speed just to get it accurate.
Okay, so this monitor shows the dot and the resources in
exactly.
Okay.
So now we've launched
Didn't get that before, sorry.
It's okay. So now the probe hopefully will find some asteroids with iron. And we can see there the FE is iron. And the science team is done. After a long search, we have found nothing but rubble. We've seen no signs of life, not even a corpse. So awful news. At least they have been able to extract some steel, some polymer, and some science points, which we're going to need for the steel mill. I'm not going to continue that event just so we can collect this science. We come back into the Tycoon. So we need to build a mining ship to now mine those asteroids we found. That's also going to use up one of our crew members. At the moment it's fine, we have loads of crew for the amount of buildings we have, but eventually we're going to have to decide which buildings we want workers in and which buildings are going to have to be turned off. You also will find survivors on your journey in cryopods that you're going to have to D4 and utilize those workers to work in your buildings. With the mining ship complete, we can set its priority to make sure it goes after the iron and do the same for the cargo ship. So the mining ship will drill the iron, the cargo ship will collect it. And then, how's the steel mill looking? That is almost researched. But before we build the steel mill, we are running low on power. All the buildings require power. And it's probably going to set us over the edge if we did build the steel mill and cause a blackout, which is not good. So we come to the outside of the Tycoon. We can actually build some more solar panels. We can see they're going to start moving the resources over to the airlock here. And then once that's built, that's going to add loads of power that we can then build more buildings and feel a bit safe.
Is there also a visualization of these solar panels afterwards?
Yeah, absolutely. So we can actually see them being built right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then now they're built. And towards the end of the game, the solar panels get like really big and very cool. You can kind of see on the art there, like really stick out. So the steel mill is now researched. And we have extra power we can see at the top. I'm going to squeeze this in and make sure it's connected by roads.
Will there also be events that damage the ship, for example the solar panels, that you lose energy?
Yes, there's actually going to be weather in some systems that you have to fly through. And say if there's like a thunderstorm in the space, then it's going to damage the solar panels and you have to repair them, which A, that costs resources, but B, it also means you're going to have less power and it's going to start causing blackouts, which isn't good.
So can you then turn out different machines?
Yes, you can turn off the different machines, the different buildings to make sure you have enough power. Or before that, you can build batteries. And if you have batteries, you go to like a backup power, you know. So you built the steel mill. It will almost be complete, and iron will turn into steel. I can turn on the repairs, and then the hull will go into the positive. So now we're using steel to repair the hull. And as long as we have a steady stream of that, then we should be fine. Of course, we've still got loads of issues. We need to feed our crew. Loads of them are starving, more than 5%. Our trust is plummeting down, so we need to figure out a way to keep them happy. And we've only got 198 people on board. We're going to need to find some cryopods and default them. But I want to show you a save later in the game. About 25 hours in, at this point we found a trail of survivors. We found out they're going to a planet called Remus. And this dead ship we found floating in space called the Pyrenees should have the coordinates to this ship, Remus.
Okay. If you talking about cryopods, can you disable, so to say, a few numbers of your crew so they don't waste any food and maybe are there for later use?
You can't do that, but you can enforce like rationing, for example.
Yeah.
And if they do die, you could choose not to wake up more cryopods, so obviously you don't have more people eating the food then.
So you have backup people.
Yeah, exactly. So in this system, obviously it's very different. Instead of a sun, there's a pulsar. And here's an example of that space weather going across. So if we entered that, we'd be in trouble. This save is very late in the game, so we have loads of machines and loads of buildings. We've developed the tech tree very far. We have buildings such as the Alternative Life Centre, so our crew can go there, pretend they're on Earth and it will make them happy. Or the Data Listening Centre, where we can enact policies such as rationing, extra work hours, that kind of thing.
Also, you got space problems to move the buildings around.
Yes, that's true. And eventually, like we've done here, really, you're going to have to open these gates, which do cost resources, and you have to move people over as well to house the new sectors. So it's a lot of like risk versus reward. But we are here, and the Pyrenees has the coordinates to Remus. So let's let the science team go inside and see what happens. And it's actually going to start awakening. The AI of the ship turning on once again, sending out drones towards us. And this is an example of one such obstacle. In each system it will be a different obstacle, but in this one you have this giant ship that you're going to have to now evade and figure out a way to destroy it. The drones are going to be picking apart holes, so we're going to have to move the Tycoon around the system. Our science team are of course struggling here. And we get some voice acting from the evil AI here saying how they want to destroy us. If you do that, then eventually you might find your way to Remus, the planet where the survivors have gone to. And then through a series of events you can get one of two endings of the game. And then if you do that, you can always restart and try on a harder mode or even customize difficulty to your liking. It's already out on PC, but it's coming out early next year on PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed.
Yeah, I did. Definitely. Yes. If you're talking about the end of the game, what's the main goal? Do you need to rescue humanity, or? Yeah.
So the goal is, at least when you start, you think you are the only humans left in the world, and of course you can't go back to Earth because that's been destroyed by the moon. And so you need to find a home or a planet that can sustain human life. And of course along the way you find cryopods and you find survivors. They want to join you and help you in that effort, just so you can make a new Earth, really.
Okay, so save humanity basically. Okay,
yeah.
Understand it. Can you tell us how many solar systems are in the game?
So there's 4 solar systems over 5 chapters. No, there's 5 solar systems actually. Each of them looks very different, and each of them acts different. Like I said, there are different challenges, different planets, all with like each individual side stories, just to keep it a little fresh.
Do you plan to have any DLCs after the release?
Not at the moment, but it's always something we think about. Obviously we love Ixion, so if we could work on it forever, then we definitely would. The development team are also working on Mechanicus 2 at the moment, so obviously they're like focused on that, but still excited for the console release, which should be pretty strong.
All right. Last question: what engine do you build the game on?
On Unity. And
Unity. Okay.
Yeah, for Ixion they actually used a new technology for Unity. If I play it, all the people walking around, eventually it can be like hundreds. And the technology I can't remember what it's called, like LCS maybe for Unity, allows there to be that many things on screen without it kind of lagging or lowering frames.
Understand it. So, but Unity, you would be able to port the game relatively easy to other platforms, like Switch, for example?
Switch, unfortunately, because the game, like you said earlier, has such good graphics and so detailed, it's too much. But yeah, the porting is definitely going well for like PlayStation and Xbox. The hardest thing actually is trying to figure out how you're going to do PC controls on the controller.
Yeah.
Because for strategy games it can be a bit confusing, but you know, with the radial wheel, it makes it a lot easier.
So, ich hoffe, euch hat die Präsentation gefallen. Also mir hat es auf jeden Fall. Also ich bin total begeistert davon gewesen. Ich kannte Ixion vorher noch nicht. Und was ich da präsentiert bekommen habe, war ja der Wahnsinn. Also allein die Geschichte dahinter, dass wir in verschiedenen Sonnensystemen unterwegs sind, müssen ein Habitat, Raumstation bauen, ausbauen, einen Kreis, in dem wir Produktionsstationen für Essen, für Technologie erforschen, bauen müssen, Ressourcen sammeln müssen in dem Sonnensystem, dann im Endeffekt eine Art Warp-Antrieb bauen in dem Schiff, um in ein anderes Sonnensystem zu reisen. Allerdings mit einem Plot-Twist, dass wir dann nicht durch Zeit und Raum reisen, sondern nur durch Zeit und dann in der Zukunft unseres Sonnensystems landen und beim Abfliegen noch unseren Mond eben mit zerstören und wir den zerstörten Mond dann wieder vorfinden und auch die zerstörte Erde und wir dann erstmal schauen müssen, wie komme ich dann überhaupt mit der Crew klar, dass die wieder glücklich ist, weil da unten sind natürlich ihre Familien gestorben. Ja. Und das Ziel des Spiels shiftet sich an verschiedenen Stellen im Spiel. Zum Beispiel muss man erstmal schauen, dass man das Schiff baut, aber dann muss man erstmal schauen, dass man irgendwie die letzte Bastion der Menschheit irgendwie noch im Leben hält und dann natürlich schaut, wo finde ich denn ein neues Zuhause für die Menschheit. Und je nachdem, in welchem Sonnensystem man da landet, erhält man dann verschiedene Quests oder auch Gegner, wie zum Beispiel irgendeine verrückte KI, die auf einen losgeht oder dann irgendwelche Zonen mit Teilchen, die dann unsere Solarpaneele zerstören und wir dann erstmal schauen müssen, dass wir die wieder aufbauen. Also ein bisschen Micromanagement, was wir da betreiben müssen. Es hat mich an verschiedenen Stellen so ein bisschen an Frostpunk erinnert, weil man doch auch bestimmte Kompromissentscheidungen eingehen muss, damit man seine Bevölkerung entweder glücklich macht oder irgendwie am Leben hält und auch oft manchmal Dinge machen muss, um sie am Leben zu halten, ohne sie glücklich zu machen. Später auch Politik mit dabei oder irgendwelche Habitate, wo sie sich dann fühlen wie auf der Erde zum Beispiel. Also das ist auf jeden Fall sehr schön gemacht. Wir haben narrative Events, wir haben Quests, wir haben Szenen dabei. Ihr konntet es ja selbst sehen. Aktuell, wir haben eine schöne Atmosphäre und das ist eine absolute Empfehlung von mir, dass ihr, wenn ihr das Spiel noch nicht kennt, definitiv auf PlayStation oder Xbox im ersten Quartal nächstes Jahr da reinschaut und euch verführen lasst in 30 Stunden Kampagne in diesem Spiel. Dominik aus unserem Team hat mir tatsächlich eben Bescheid gegeben, dass er das Spiel schon auf PC durchgespielt hat und tierisch begeistert davon ist. Also kann ich nicht viel mehr sagen als viel Spaß dabei, wenn ihr das Spiel dann im ersten Quartal 2025 auf euren Konsolen habt und auch durchspielt, wie unser Dominik. Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen und wir sehen uns im nächsten Gamescom-Video. Ciao.